Okay, welcome to our next class on Halacha. Tonight, we're going to discuss the laws of Hanukkah. We're going to try to give a general review of the laws of Hanukkah based on the Sefer Shavach HaMoedim. And we'll obviously add in to it anything that needs to be added in. So, first of all, what is Hanukkah? We know Hanukkah is the 25th day of Kislev. It's the 8th day holiday. And what happened was basically there's two parts to the miracle of Hanukkah, and that is in the time of the Assyrian Greeks. Antiochus rose to power, and he started to put out decrees against Judaism, starting with bris, circumcision, Shabbos, and the Rosh Chodesh, which is understood to be like the Jewish calendar, the holidays. And from there, it went to more of a general idea, which is the idea of not serving God out of blind faith. The Greeks were very into culture. So you're doing Judaism, you're following Torah, and this is because it's a cultural thing. It makes sense. It's nice. You enjoy it. You want to sit and have matzah on Passover, on Pesach. It's a wonderful thing. You remember what happened to your ancestors leaving Egypt. You want to you want to shake a lulav on Sukkot. You want to even keep Shabbos in theory, just because it's a nice family time. That's one thing. But the idea of we're doing it because it's what God said so. Because there's sanctity, there's holiness in what we're doing. It's more than just a cultural thing. That's something that they didn't like. That's really what they were fighting against. And then it kind of, from there, it went on to a full-blown decree against Judaism altogether, anything in Judaism. And they fought a war, the Maccabees, the Jewish people fought a war, and they were successful. There was a few against the many, the weak against the mighty, and they were successful. So that was miracle number one. Miracle number two was that they came to the temple to light the menorah in the temple, which they did every single day in the Beis HaMikdash. And they had no oil. They found one jug of oil, and it lasted for 8 days. So therefore, we have the Yom Tov. So what's the Yom Tov? So two parts of the Yom Tov. There's the miracle of the war and the miracle of the candles. Two different miracles. And there's certain things that we do to remember one, certain things that we do to remember the other. So for example, in our davening, what do we add? The Al Hanisim prayer, right? Remember that from other years? In the Siddur, there's towards the end of the Shemona Esrei, Al Hanisim, we thank God for the miracles that happen on Hanukkah. If you read that text, there's no mention of the menorah. It's only talking about the miracle of the war, right? When we say Halav, why do we say Halav on Hanukkah? For 8 days we say the complete Halav, like on a Yom Tov. Why? For the miracle of the war. That's the reason why we say Halav. Then there are other parts of the miracle, and that is to light the candles, the menorah, right? Because we had the miracle of the oil, so we light the candles for 8 days. Okay, there is no mitzvah per se to have a meal on Hanukkah like you have on Purim. The Purim party, not just, hey, it's a nice thing to do, we get together and celebrate, but it's one of the 4 mitzvahs, right? Megillah, Shalach Manis, Natan Stavyanim, and Mishnah and a Suda. On Hanukkah, there's no mitzvah to have a meal. So a Hanukkah party is not part of the mitzvah. It's just a nice thing. Hey, let's have a party. But the mitzvah is to light candles and to be joyous, to be simcha. And the Maimonides says that what is true simcha? Simcha is through eating. So therefore, we have like the idea of also eating and adding in food, adding in parties. Not a mitzvah per se, but it's definitely part of the theme, part of the idea of Hanukkah to be happy and to add in joy through celebrations. Okay, so let's go through some of the details of the mitzvah and how to do Hanukkah. Okay, so first of all, who is obligated to light candles? So it says that this is an extremely important mitzvah. Every household should light candles. Now, how many candles do you light? You're familiar with the different opinions? So originally, every family, every home lit one candle the first night, and the second night they lit one candle. It was just like originally it was like Shabbos candles. Light a candle every Hanukkah.
How long ago was this?
Original. Light a light. I mean, in the enactment, the original institution of Hanukkah was what's the minimum? The minimum was every night you light one candle.
Aren't you allowed to even go to debt to obtain this candle? Or
Well,
is that something else?
That's Shabbos going to
Wait,
debt.
Joe did. That's the first one. Then their Mahadrin is that the first night you light one, second night you light two, third night you light 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Mahadrin, mina Mahadrin. The best way to do it is that every person in the house lights 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is the accepted custom today. We all do it that way. We know that there's a dispute in the Gemara whether you should start from 1 and go to 8, or go start from 8 and go down to 1. But we follow the opinion of Hillel. We start with 1 and we go all the way up to 8 every night. Now, so the custom is that everyone in the house does it, meaning not just one person. It's not just like there should be like candles in the house, but everyone in the house. So women are also obligated to partake in the mitzvah of Hanukkah. And even though we know the general rule is that any positive mitzvah saseh, shehazman grama, that is time bound, women are not obligated, like tefillin and other. You want to miss the bringing. Thank you. So Hanukkah is different because Hanukkah, the women were part of the miracle, and they were part of the miracle in various ways. So first of all, one of the decrees, a very terrible decree, was against the women specifically, and that was that any woman who was getting married had to first marry, like the king, whatever it was, having a funny word in Aramaic, I'm not sure what exactly it was, whatever, the emperor or the mayor of the city, whatever it was. So that was like a terrible decree against women, where they weren't able to get married to a Jew, and stay pure, because any woman that was getting married had to first live with that person. Imagine that, a terrible decree. So that was very difficult for the Jewish women. That's first of all. Second of all, obviously, if it's a decree against Judaism, it's a tired Judaism, men, women, and children alike. And third of all, there's a story specific, a heroic woman by the name of Yehudis, who she was trying to help Jewish people, her people. So she went out and she enticed one of the foreigners, one of the great generals, and he wanted to live with her. And she agreed. And she said, okay, let's first eat and drink first. So she brought wine, she brought cheese. He was hungry, he was thirsty, he got wine. He ended up becoming drunk, and while he was sleeping, she slit his throat and actually chopped off his head. And came with his head and showed and hung it on the gate, on the fence, like on the gate or something, and all the soldiers fled very, very quickly. So that the women were very much part of this miracle. Therefore, they're also obligated in the mitzvah. Nevertheless, the custom is that women do not light their own Hanukkah candles if they are home with their husbands. The custom is that they, just like Kiddush, that they're obligated in, but usually the husband will make Kiddush on behalf of the wife and the children. So too, with Hanukkah candles, the husband will light candles on behalf of the wives. The custom is that children, at least older children, do light their own Hanukkah candles. With women, with girls, there's like different, even within Chabad custom or in the Rebbe, there's different ideas whether girls should light their own candles or should not light their own candles. In one place, the Rebbe said that girls should not light their own candles. Some places that they do. So the accepted custom is that young girls who still feel that they want to, this is the way they want to be part of Hanukkah, so they can light their own Hanukkah candles. But already older girls, even sure after Bas Mitzvah, even before Bas Mitzvah, it's better that they do not light their own candles and just kind of be part of the celebration with their brothers and fathers. However, if if a woman does not have a husband, or for whatever reason the husband does not know, not able to light the candles, then she is able to light her own candles, or if she would like, she could ask someone else to light the candles for her as well. But she should definitely light the candles if the husband's not home. Same thing would apply. In fact, we'll see later, we'll talk about how late are you allowed to light candles. So you're supposed to light candles with a bracha at night as long as people are awake, people are up, right? So if you're coming home at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you light the candles then. But what happens if you're coming home late at night, coming home at 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., your family's already sleeping. So do you light Hanukkah candles? So you're supposed to light Hanukkah candles without a bracha. You don't make a bracha because the idea of Hanukkah candles is to pursue so to publicize, to spread the miracle. So if no one's there to see it other than yourself, you don't make a blessing. You don't make a bracha when you light candles. Or the other option is you can wake people up. At least one person has to wake up your wife or your husband or your children and say, "Hey, we're lighting Hanukkah candles now," and then you can make it with a bracha. So the question is, let's say the husband's out late and the wife is home with the children, or the wife is home, right? So she's going to sleep. What is optimal? Is it better for her to wait for the husband to come home and then light late at night? She will wake up, she will wait around, and then light at midnight, or should she light herself earlier on with a bracha? So there's different opinions, but Rabbi Auerbach says that it's actually better for her to light earlier than to wait later. So it's better to light earlier on if the husband is going to be coming home very late. Okay. What type of menorah do we use? So the best thing to do is we use olive oil. That's what we use in the Beis Hamikdash. We use olive oil. Officially, it's like the most beautiful flame that comes from olive oil more than any other wax or any other type of oil. So therefore, we use olive oil. If you can't get olive oil, you use beeswax or any other type of oil or wax that has a very clear type of flame. Obviously, any wax is fine. So with children, definitely use any wax. But the best type of wax is beeswax, and the best type of candle is olive oil. And the wick, any wick is kosher, but the best wick to take is cotton. Yeah. So you can either make it yourself. Back in the day, we used to make our own cotton wick. You buy the cotton balls. You start making your own cotton wick, and you start filling out the oil into little cups, and it becomes a whole mess, and it's crazy. Today, you go to the store, you go to Kosher Cajun, or you go online and buy pre-filled. So you have pre-filled oil cups, and it's simple, it's clean. All you have to do is pop it open, and you have it ready. Growing up, it was always such a mess. Pour it and it overflows, or this, and they put it in the wick and the wick falls in, and how you keep the wick up? You have these floaters, you have this, you have that. It's like you see, go Meshuggah. So now we have easy, no excuses. Buy beautiful olive oil, pre-filled olive oil things. Okay. Now there's different opinions whether every night of Hanukkah. This is kind of hard if you're using these pre-filled, so you don't get this, but when you have wicks that were used last night. So last night was the first night, I have one wick. Now I need to add a candle on my menorah. I need 2 wicks. So should I use the same wick and just refill oil? Or should I prepare 2 new wicks? Meaning every night of Hanukkah, do I just add 1 new wick, or do I prepare all new wicks? What's better? So like when you're lighting a candle, what light's better? A candle that was lit already, a used wick, or a new wick? A used wick lights better. So therefore, some people say, well, some opinion is actually better to use yesterday's wick. Just add 1 new wick, but use yesterday's wick. Some say, no, it's nicer and all new, all fresh. So different opinions. So you could do whatever you want. but it seems like the minhag of our Rebbe's was to use the old wick. In fact, the new candle was also the old wick. I mean, they would even move it. So let's say last night was 3 and now it's 4. So instead of just like the new wick that I added should not be the first that I'm lighting. It was one of the first 3. The first that I'm lighting should always be an old wick. But again, if you're using those pre-filled ones, it's kind of hard to get that minhag in. We have a shamish, a candle that we use to light the other candles. Our custom is that we don't use a oil candle for the shamish. See, the shamish has 2 purposes. On the one hand, it's there for technicality. You got to use something to light the other candles. But then there's a halachic purpose for the shamish, is that the idea is that you're not supposed to have any benefits from the other candles. So if you're sitting around and you're having 5 candles lit, you're at the end of the day, it's lighter in the room, especially at night, from these candles. So if you're reading or if you're walking around, you're kind of benefiting from the light. So therefore, we have a shamish. A shamish is that extra candle, which is not part of the Hanukkah. That's not part of the mitzvah. It's an additional candle. So if I'm benefiting from the light, I say, you know what? It's not really from the light. It's really from the shamish light. So it's permissible. So for that reason, I can have any candle. I can have a oil candle as well. And if you go into many stores, and even if you buy these wicks, you ever noticed how many wicks come in? How many pre-filled come in? Not 70. How many pre-filled come in? How many come in a package?
40 something. 40.
What's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what? 44. So your regular package has 44 candles. Now, how many candles do you light on Hanukkah? The math.
You getting 4 extra.
Getting 8 extra. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 is 36. You're having extra 8 for the for the shamish. 8 nights of shamish, right? But that is because many have a custom that they light the shamish with the shamish. So they have 2 shamish. They have 1 shamish that they use to light the other candles, and then they light the shamish. So there should be an extra candle for the second reason, right? Our custom is that we don't do that. Our custom is that the candle that we use to light the other candles, that same candle serves as our shamish in our menorah every night. We create a new candle every night. But we don't light a oil candle as a shamish. We use a wax candle, a beeswax candle as our shamish. I'm just saying, sometimes you see menorahs, you'll see that picture. You see that the shamish is also made out of oil. So today you can actually go to the supermarket, and sometimes, like especially in Crown Heights, you could buy for a few dollars cheaper, 36 in the pack. So you don't have to waste the extra. Or after a few years of buying the 44, you get yourself, it's like buy 3, buy 3, get 1 free or something like that. You know? So you get a second set. Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, the shamish is supposed to be out of beeswax, so you can't just go to a regular store and buy a candle. They're probably not going to have beeswax, so you can buy it. In Judaica stores already sell this. They make them especially. When we were kids in school, we used to always have like a activity before Hanukkah to make our own candles. You know, it was like a big deal. Okay, we're supposed to have a nice menorah. It should be out of metal or even silver. It's supposed to, part of the beauty of the mitzvah is to have a beautiful menorah. One thing to keep in mind when you buy menorahs is that the candles have to be in a even row. So both has to be, they can't be, the height has to be all even. Not to say that it's not even light candles, some of the candles burn faster than others. The point is the actual menorah should all be the same height, and they should all be in a row. They should not be a zigzag or in half a circle or anything like that. So if you go online, and even some Judaica stores, they'll have some very beautiful design menorahs. Very artsy, and they're really, really nice designs, but they're not kosher. So you have to be careful to buy a kosher menorah. Now, if someone doesn't have a menorah, just has candles, technically, you don't actually need a menorah to light menorah, which means you're supposed to light candles. 1 candle, 2 candles, 8 candles, right? So it's a technicality. How you light a candle? Just put a candle. You need something to hold it, right? But today that you have, let's say, these pre-filled, many of these pre-filled are self-standing. And depending on the company that you get, some of them even come with a stand. So you could technically just put the actual little candle, maybe put a tray and put the candle down. And the second night you put 2 candles near each other. So that technically is enough. When we were in yeshiva and we were students, we didn't have our own menorah and this and that. We just bought these candles and we just put them the first night and we put down 1. Second night you put down 2. And as long as it's noticeable that these are one set, like let's say it's the 5th night of Hanukkah. So I'm lighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In an equal row. But then you're lighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't know, is it the 2nd night of Hanukkah and 5 people lit? Or is it the 5th night of Hanukkah and 2 people lit, right? So you have to set it up in a way where it's noticeable this is one person's. So you put them all together, So you see clearly that how many people and how many nights. So it's very noticeable to that. But if it is, you don't need a menorah. So if you're stuck somewhere, if you're traveling somewhere, you don't have a menorah, that's what you could do. That's what I did once. I was once flying, and we'll get back to that if I was even obligated to the menorah, but I was flying from here to Israel on the last night of Hanukkah. I actually had to stop over in New York. I went to Leichan. I didn't have a menorah with me, so I was able to get from someone 8 extra candles. 8 of it was extra pre-filled thing. I just put them down in a row on the table, and that was my menorah. So you're supposed to have a menorah. You're supposed to have a beautiful menorah. But if you don't have a menorah, you can still do the mitzvah without the menorah. The main thing is the candles. Okay. These candles are considered something like holy, therefore we don't just throw them in the trash afterwards. We're supposed to burn them out after Hanukkah. So you take all the extra wicks after Hanukkah and you burn them like you before you throw them out. However, the actual if you're actually using oil, you're filling up the oil bottle does not become holy. It's just the oil itself that you want to burn out before you throw them out. Okay.
It's just regular extra virgin olive oil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'll buy the same one in the store with Hanukkah hashkacha for triple the price. But I believe it's the same thing, right? Am I wrong? I think it's the same thing, right? It's just olive oil, right?
Actually, have a
Of course. Hashkacha, not Hanukkah hashkacha, like company. It's like Hanukkah menorah oil, Not the pre-filled.
You're paying way more for that.
Not the pre-filled. I'm saying if you buy a container of oil, you can go to the supermarket and buy it for $9.99, or you can buy it to a Judaica store and buy it for $29.99. It's the same bottle, a different label. It's Hanukkah, the best on the market. Most mahudar oil for your menorah. I don't know. My assumption is it's just regular olive oil. I never.
Yeah, because I use regular olive oil.
It should be fine. Okay, let's get moving over here. So where do we put our menorah? So many have a custom to put it in the window. That what you've been doing in the past? To do it in the window, that is an accepted custom. However, the Chabad custom is not to put it at the window, but to put it at a door, and not necessarily the front door, which is interesting. So even though we're so into the idea of Chabad, we have menorahs on our cars. We're like menorahs everywhere. We're like in your face menorah. It's like wherever you go, we're here. It's Hanukkah, right? Jewish pride, spreading the miracle, right? It's all about menorahs in the street. But at the same time, when it comes to our own menorah, we don't do it in the window. We do it indoors. We do it by a doorway.
So is the doorway with a window on?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. No, it's fine if it has a window. My point is, doorway can be right over here. This is a doorway, and it can be done right over here. So, it's actually supposed to be done not necessarily to the outside. It's supposed to be done a central doorway in the home. So, this doorway will be perfect. or I can't see right now what type of doorway you have to that room. That's also fine, right? If there's a doorway that will be obligated in a mezuzah, that doorway is where we light the menorah. Okay. Now, because you don't have a mezuzah, the question would be, would you? So we do it on the left side, the opposite of the mezuzah. So the mezuzah is on the right. You do it on the left.
So you have to determine where it is.
So you have to determine where the mezuzah would be and do it on the other side. So that's what we do. We do it on the left side, the opposite of the mezuzah, in the most central room near where we eat mainly, like especially near the kitchen or near the dining room or the kitchen, a place where you eat. That is the best doorway to do. If you don't have a doorway that works near where you eat or where you, then you can do it near the bedroom. The two main rooms of the house is either where you eat or where you sleep. So primarily you're supposed to do it where you eat. If that doesn't work, you do it where you sleep. That is why a question comes up a lot with like people who are in yeshiva and they live in one room, in one building, but they eat in a different building, right? So where do you do it? But definitely if you're having a regular home, you do it in the place where you eat, and our custom is we don't put it by the window. Where do you place it? So there's an interesting measurement over here. The menorah is supposed to be somewhere where it's easily seen. So it's not supposed to be very low down. So it's not supposed to be lower than 3 tefachim. Tefachim we said is about 6 inches. Right? Is that what we said? So we're talking about 18 inches. So the menorah should be above 18 inches. Above 18 inches, but lower than 10 tefachim. 10 tefachim would be, no, I'm sorry, not 6 inches of tefach, 3 inches of tefach. Sorry, 3 inches of tefach, right?
Yeah.
So there are 6 tefachim in an amud.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So it's 9 inches. It should be above 9 inches from the ground, above 9 inches, and lower, lechatchila, try to have it lower than 30 inches, 31 inches, right? That is 10 tefachim. Now, 30 inches is not very high. This, my guess is just about or even higher than 30 inches. So it's less than 3 feet. Yeah. This table is probably either just about or even lower than 10 tefachim. So what's the question? The challenge is, if you have a menorah that itself, you have like a flat menorah, this might be under 10 tefachim. If you have a menorah that itself is, 10 inches, 12 inches, you have a nice menorah, you're putting it on a regular sized table, it's going to be too high. Now, it's not too, it's still kosher. It's kosher up to 20 amma. And for convenience, you'll find many people just use regular tables, and that's what they use. Oh, so our custom is that we put it on a chair. That's like, now it doesn't have to be a chair per se, but like something low. So the rabbis used to put it on a chair. They had a chair, they maybe cover it with silver foil or something. Obviously, a chair that has a flat surface, like a hard flat surface, and put that chair in the doorway and light on the chair. But it doesn't have to be a chair. It could be a TV. Yeah. A low surface. So you have a children's table. You have a chair. You have a coffee table. You have, that you got to measure it. But yeah, that looks fine. I'm saying that's what we use. That's the best thing to use. Again, it's not like if you don't have anything else. Like when I was in yeshiva, we use a regular table, and most people were lighting it above 10 tefachim, and it's totally kosher. But if you're able to, try to have it in between 3 and 10 tefachim, not just the menorah standing, but the candles. The candles should be between 3 and 10 tefachim. So if you have a tall menorah, if you have a menorah more than 9 inches, you could technically put the menorah on the tray on the floor, but it's just not very nice. So you want to do something nice. You kind of put it on a platform that is whatever it is, 15, 20 inches, and have the menorah on top of that. Now, the place that you eat, the place that you light has to be the place that you eat. in the place that you live. So what happens, this might be applicable to you, if you are sleeping in one place and you're eating somewhere else, having dinner in one house, but I'm going home to sleep later at night. Where do I light menorah? So it's not so simple. Ideally, you're really supposed to light in your place. So even if I didn't eat there today, but I generally eat in my home, and that's where I generally sleep. So I got to go home and light menorah. So I could be at let's say a shul program, and there's a big Hanukkah party, and I would just light menorah over here. I'm having dinner here. No. If I'm going home afterward, I'm going to sleep at home. I got to go home, light menorah at home, and come back. Or we'll see soon how perhaps you could have the party and then light menorah later at home. But the point is, menorah for your mitzvah got to be in your house, unless you're sleeping over at someone else's house. So if I'm staying in someone else's house for Shabbos, so I can light menorah there Friday before Shabbos because this is where I'm staying. And even Saturday night, even if I'm going home Saturday night, but I'm hanging around for a little bit, maybe eating blah blah blah, I'm kind of hanging around the home. I could also light candles over there because I was here last night. And this was my home today. This is for Shabbat. This was my home. This is an extension of Shabbat, so I could light menorah over there. But if I just came over to someone's house for the evening, or even for the day, but I'm going home at night, and last night I slept at home, I really have to bench menorah at my own house.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, so there's some exceptions to the rule. So this one has a more of a unique situation. We could look deeper into this, but this is the general rule. When do we light? What time do we light? So there are different customs. The Gemara says, what is this man? What is the time for lighting menorah? When the sun sets. It's just shkia sunset, right? Today's sunset around 5 o'clock, right? Just around maybe 5:02 or 5:03, something around there, right? That is sunset. So we don't light before sunset. However, some of the custom that they wait all the way till nightfall, which is called Seisach Yigavit. Nightfall, which is about 5:35. Tonight was 5:28. I actually checked earlier today. So it's about an additional half hour or so. The Chabad custom is to light in between Shkia and Seis. So 5:10, 5:15, that's when ideally you should light. So we daven Mincha. After Mincha, we go home. Again, this is ideal. This is an ideal situation. Daven Mincha, we go home. We light Hanukkah candles. We come back to shul and daven Ma'ariv. Right? If we miss that window of time and it's ready to say it's ready 5:30, then we daven Ma'ariv and then we light the menorah. Right? Places like New Orleans, places that you're not going to get a minyan. You'll be happy to get a minyan for one of them, but to get mincha and people go home and come back, you're not going to get a minyan for both. So then the custom is that we just daven mincha, daven Ma'ariv, and then light menorah.
And you're still within probably.
Well, but even if not, even if you wait until afterwards, that's what we do. And what we do is we kind of remind each other. You remind each other, hey, don't forget to light the candles afterwards. So that's what we do. But in theory, you're in a place that there's minyan, all the time. That's the ideal custom. Or if you're not going to shul, for whatever reason, there's no minyan. You're not making it to shul, but you're home during that time. Daven mincha, then after shkia light candles, and then daven Ma'ariv.
I got a question. When lighting, and you have children who want to light as well.
Yeah.
Does everyone bench or just one?
Everyone can make their own blessing. Everyone makes their own blessing. Yeah. Now, when
what about that age after mitzvah? They should really not light. And
girls preferably should not light after bas mitzvah. They want to, they could. If the lighting, they can do it with a blessing. If the lighting, they can do it with a blessing. Yeah. from from a half hour before the time. So the time that let's say is Shkia, which is let's say 5 o'clock. So from when I say half hour, it means a halachic time. But let's say 30 minutes. From 4:30 or so, you should already stop eating. You shouldn't sit down for a meal at 4:30, because if you sit down for a meal at 4:30, you may kind of have a meal, you have a rain, you're saying l'chaim, and you might forget to light candles. You're not supposed to eat any, large snack or a meal about a half hour before, and you're also not supposed to start learning or going to sleep or anything from the time of candlelight, unless you appoint someone to remind you. It's called a shomer, something guard you, come to remind you. You say, hey Yishai, I'm sitting down for Hanukkah party today, but now I didn't have time to go home and light candles. Remind me, in 3 hours, when we're done with this party, I have to light Hanukkah candles. Okay? It could be your spouse to remind you, it could be a child. Maybe you can even put an alarm. There might be enough, but you should definitely have something in place to remind you to light candles. And if you don't have that reminder, if you're alone, you shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't eat, you shouldn't sleep, you shouldn't do malacha, you shouldn't learn. If the time has come to light Hanukkah candles, only thing you can do is daven mincha or daven ma'ariv, and then light the candles. Unless you have someone reminding you, you appoint someone to remind you not to forget to light the candles. Okay, let's move on over here. Now, it says actually women, even though they're not lighting their own candles, ideally they should also not do like, they shouldn't say, let's say the woman's waiting for the husband to come home, oh, I'll take a nap, and then he'll come home, I'll wake me up. So she shouldn't really be doing these types of things. She should also not take a nap or sit down for a meal, even though she's not going to be the one lighting. But better that she also appoints someone to remind her that there's menorah lighting tonight before she sits down for a meal or she takes a nap. Okay. Moving on. First night of Hanukkah, which is this year Sunday night, we light one candle, and we add every night a second, third, fourth candle. The first night we make 3 blessings, then the other night we make 2 blessings. What's the 3 blessings? We make the blessing of any mitzvah, lahadlik, asher kiddushanu, God sanctified us as mitzvahs, and He commanded us to light lahadlik ner Chanukah, light the candle of Hanukkah. If you notice, if you have a different siddur, Chabad has a little bit of a different custom, right? Lahadlik, the other siddurs say lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Now, the Rebbe took out the word shel, the lahadlik ner Hanukkah. That's one mitzvah, one bracha. The second bracha is she'asa nisim laviseinu, God who has performed miracles for our fathers. The third bracha is shehachiyanu. The shehachiyanu bracha is only said the first night, or it's really the first time, which means someone who, for whatever reason, missed the first night. You meet someone and they say, hey, by the way, do you know it's Hanukkah? They go, oh, I didn't know it's Hanukkah. It's already the 7th night. That's fine. Here's a Hanukkah menorah, light Hanukkah candles, and say 3 blessings. Same thing applies to lulav, right? If you only say shehachiyanu on the first day of Sukkot when we shake the lulav, but someone who hasn't done it, do it the first time. So the first time we light Hanukkah candles, we say 3 blessings, and all other nights we say the first 2 blessings. These blessings should be said before you start lighting the candles. First say the 2 blessings, and then you start lighting the candles. And as we know, if we have a menorah, we set up the menorah from the right side of the menorah, right? So this is on my menorah, we have 1 candle, you have 2 candles, you have 3 candles, but we start lighting it from the left one moving right. So we set up the right side of the menorah, and we light it from the left moving to the right side. Obviously, it gets challenging when you have, let's say, a menorah that has, it's facing, which side is it facing, right? But it's really about the person who's lighting it. Wherever the person lighting is facing, that's considered their right side. You can go from that side, right? So, like, the big question is always when you're putting a menorah, is it a public menorah or a menorah in your car? So, what's the front, what's the back? But you could make that own decision. It's not such a important dilemma. Okay.
What about this variation for converts?
It says there is a variation.
Yeah, right here.
Looking at Pisser.
Very top.
I never heard of this before, and I don't know.
It seemed like if you did the original, you're good anyway, right?
Yeah.
Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, I don't know if this is from the Mishnah Berurah. I don't think this is something that it's accepted in our circle. I've never heard of it before, and I don't think I could look at it into it. Basically, Sha'as Nisim La V'Seinu, who has done miracles to our fathers, our ancestors. He says to Israel. I've never heard of that chain because, and it's from the Mishnah Berurah. I'm not questioning it, but a question on that will be: there's so many other areas of davening that converts also say our fathers, right? Abraham, we're saying all the time our fathers. So why specifically this mitzvah? I don't know. So I never heard of that variation. Okay. After we finish saying all the lighting the candles, we say the Haneros Halalu as it is a short prayer, as it is in the Siddur. How long do the candles have to be lit for? Do they have to burn? So it have to be lit at least 30 minutes, which means you have to put enough oil in your candles that it should last for 30 minutes, which is not very long and doesn't take a lot of oil to last for 30 minutes. Also for candles, again, for children, you don't have to be so careful. The candles that usually we give out for these children, they last about 5-10 minutes, especially on night number 8, where you have like a whole bonfire over there. So you're talking about 3 minutes and the whole thing's down to the ground. And that's okay. It's okay. That's okay for the kids. However, they do sell like even those like cheaper colored candles, this box of candles. You can sell. You could buy a little longer ones that last officially for 30 minutes. Even those ones don't really last 30 minutes, but it is a little longer. Now, this is according to the custom that you light the candles after nightfall. That's really when you need the 30-minute kindling. You need them after nightfall. They should be lit for 30 minutes. However, according to our custom, that we light candles already before nightfall. So our custom is that we have candles lit at least for 50 minutes. We add on an additional 20 minutes because we're lighting it, 20 minutes before nightfall. You want it will last at least 30 minutes after nightfall, after it says. Now again, you buy oil. Lasts usually an hour and a half, 2 hours easily. But just to keep in mind, you want to have it at least 50 minutes. In other words, 30 minutes after nightfall. And this becomes a little tricky when it comes to Erev Shabbos. On Friday, where we light before Shkia, because we can't light after Shkia. So sometimes we're lighting 5-10 minutes, even 20 minutes before Shkia. And now you have to have them lit for 30 minutes after it says. So you're talking about a good, over an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes of being lit. Again, for the oil cups, most oil cups are lasting that amount either way. But for the candles, they're very tricky. It's almost impossible to get candles that fit in one of those menorahs that are going to last for an hour and 15 minutes, and that's okay. But we did, definitely for oil, just keep that in mind. Some people put an extra long shamish. You don't have to, because if the shamish blows out earlier, it's totally fine. But some people put an extra longer shamish for Shabbos as well. But the point is that it shall last for 30 minutes after 6. What happens if the candles go out?
On Shabbos or normal day?
On a normal day. So if the candles go out, you're supposed to just relight them without a bracha. Just relight them. As long as when you lit the candles, they had enough oil to last the time. So even if they blew out, you already did the mitzvah. Because the main part of the mitzvah is lighting the candles. There's actually a dispute in the Gemara. What's the main part of the mitzvah? Hanachasan or hadlakasan, which means the actual kindling the menorah is the mitzvah, or that they should be kindled. What's the difference? The difference is I kindled the menorah and it blew out. Did I do the mitzvah?
It's dependent.
If it's to kindle, I did it. If it, that it should be lit, and they should be here for the duration, it wasn't here for the duration, right? So the halacha is it's the kindling itself that's the mitzvah, and therefore in theory, if it blew out, I still did the mitzvah. The custom is that we rekindle them, we relight them with a bracha. Here's the question. Question is, what happened if when I lit the menorah, I thought I set up enough oil, I filled up the glass with enough oil to last the duration, but then I realized, hey, I forgot to fill up one cup for all the cups. And when I lit the menorah, it did not have the ability to last the right amount of time. So that may be more problematic. My understanding is that even in that case, we relight it without a blessing. And that is because there is an opinion that says that today, that for whatever reason, even if it does not last 30 minutes, you're still yotza.
You add.
You can add oil. You can add oil. Then you could add oil. The question is, we're yotza in the midst of. Meaning you could add oil and then relight it.
So it would have lasted 20 minutes, but you need to last
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Or what if it would have lasted 5 minutes, right? Let's say.
It still hasn't gone out. It still hasn't gone out, but you calculate, this won't.
Either way, either it hasn't gone out yet, and you just want to add some oil. So you could do. You can add oil. Or it went out. You want to relight it after you refilled it. But the question is, do you make another bracha? Like, were you yotza the mitzvah and now you're relighting it because it's just better to relight it, or you weren't even yotza the mitzvah? So I think that la halacha we say that because savik bracha is lahakal, because we always anytime there's a doubt, you don't make another bracha, and because there is one opinion that says that nowadays you don't, even if it doesn't last 30 minutes, you're still yotza. So we don't. So you can refill the oil and rekindle it, but you don't make another bracha.
And you rely on Shabbos, right?
And you always relight on the Shabbos. You never use the flame of the menorah to light anything. So even when you're lighting, even to light menorah from one candle from the next, you never light from one candle to the next. So for example, I have my shamash, and I light the first candle, and then I'm about to light the second candle, and my shamash went out. Easiest thing would be is I would just rekindle my shamash and then light the second candle. No, you don't use that flame. So you got to strike the match again, or and then
that would be benefiting
from the candle, right? Exactly. So you never light anything, use that flame for anything. So that we always have to go back to shamash, or it might be another. If you have a few people's menorahs, you can take from someone else's shamash and relight your shamash, but you can't light it from another candle. Not from another menorah candle. You can light it from another shamash. During the time of the 30 minutes or 50 minutes, you're not supposed to move the menorah. Just let it sit. After that time, you're allowed to move the menorah. However, you're still not supposed to blow out the candles. Let the candles burn out. The shamash, if you want, you could burn out. Especially, either you feel dangerous, there's kids around, or you want to, let's say you don't have enough. Let's say you only have 7 shamashim, right? You don't have enough for every night. So you say, you know what? Let me use the shamash. After 50 minutes, I could just blow out the shamash. That's fine. You can let the rest of the candle blow, lit, and you can take out the shamash and you can reuse the shamash for the next night. But the candle itself, the custom, it's not prohibited. The custom is to let them burn out as long as it takes. So if you're leaving your house, you feel that it's dangerous. After 15 minutes, you are allowed to blow it out. You feel that you don't want to leave it alone. But if you are home, you do feel safe, better to leave it and let it burn out on its own.
From your experience using a used wick, like before, is there ever a sign where it's like you're concerned this wick might be too spent to use it again?
If that is the situation, then you could put it on a new one. But generally, wicks don't really get that spent. If they're immersed in oil, then as soon as the oil is fully consumed, the fire goes out. So
It's not really the wick that gets burnt. It's
yeah,
just the oil.
the tip of the wick gets a little black from the fire, but the rest of the wick remains white. Doesn't even turn colors. Gets saturated with. You'll see from your menorah. You pull out the wick. Top of it is burnt. The rest of it is almost like fresh. It's actually pretty cool. Just like to study it. See how like it's sad, it absorbs the oil, and that's what's burning. It's really the oil through the wick, and as soon as the oil is empty, it goes out like within seconds. Saying there's oil absorbed in the wick, but as soon as it kind of dries out, it goes out. If someone's home while they're and they're not running out of the house after they light candles, you're supposed to sit by the candles. There's this concept that we say you should sit by the candles and listen to the message that the candles are singing or telling, which is Hanukkah. As you light the candles and you go have Slamatkis, but you're supposed to sit by the candles, read a book, talk to your children, sing some songs. It's like time. It's good to spend time by the candles, even just 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Just sit there. You can look at the candles or do something by the candles. It's a part of the Yom Tov. So spend time by the candles. It's interesting a little bit, because on Sukkot I spoke a little bit about our relationship with the Sukkah. It's the Sukkah has feelings almost, don't do things, don't speak ill about another person in the Sukkah. The Sukkah has ears, or don't dress modest in the Sukkah because you're embarrassing the Sukkah. We have an interesting relationship with the Sukkah, so it's almost similar to the candle. Don't do things in front of the candle. So it's just sit and give the candles attention. It's the candles are the mitzvah, it's precious. So kind of spend time by the candles. What happens if you have to run out of the house? If you have to run out of the house, then you do run out of the house. You could point someone else to the candles. You remember in yeshiva, we're all doing mitzvahs. Every night we go out to the streets and we meet other Jews and give out menorah, or Hanukkah parties, whatever it is. So we used to light candles, and we all used to run out. So we used to point, hey, you, one guy, you're going to watch all the candles for us. We're heading out. Because obviously it's more important to think about others and make sure other people have opportunity. But ideally, if you're able to sit by the candles, that is the best way to do it.
Question though.
Yeah.
If you're using the pre-filled cups,
Yeah.
and you use one of the cups as a shamish, can you light the match from the cup that's being used as a shamish, or
No, if it's a shamish, it's a shamish. That's the whole point of it.
yeah.
That's not part of the menorah. Our custom is that the shamish is used as the candle, the wax candle is used for the shamish. If someone chooses to use an oil candle as a shamish, as long as this is designated as a shamish, it's in the shamish holder of the menorah, then that's the point. It's not holy. You can use it for anything. You can benefit from it. Exactly. Our custom is that when we light Hanukkah candles, we do not wear Shabbos clothes. Even though on Purim we're supposed to wear Shabbos clothes, and on obviously holidays we wear Shabbos clothes. On Hanukkah, whatever reason, our custom is that we don't wear Shabbos clothes. So for those who are married, we wear the longer coat, longer jacket on Shabbos. We don't wear that when we light candles. We wear our regular weekday clothing, obviously, respectable clothing, but regular weekday clothing for lighting the Shabbos candles, the Hanukkah candles. Yeah. Let's say you can't wear Shabbos clothes, but it's not the custom. Okay, moving on. We have a few minutes over here. Let's get a few more ideas over here. While the candles are being lit, we're not supposed to do malacha. Men or women in the house should not do any work, malacha. What does work mean? We don't mean work on Shabbos. You're allowed to light the candles, you're allowed to turn the light, you're allowed to use electricity, you're allowed to cook and bake. You're also allowed to be in the kitchen, allowed to for halatkis. You shouldn't do any heavy work. And again, it doesn't specify exactly what it is, but some people say it means doing the laundry, and maybe if you're fixing a wall, or if you're doing work, tiring work, that should not be done during the candle while the candles are being are lit. Not just being lit, are for that 50-minute period that the candles are lit.
What if it's the cover cup?
So what? Preparing is not, that's not malach. I'm saying just preparing food is not considered malach unless it's a real tedious or very it's like a labor. It's a big job. I'm not sure if preparing food really falls into that category. We also like menorah in the public spaces like a shul. So if you daven Ma'ariv, a shul is supposed to light candles as well. A person who lights candles in shul makes the bracha, but they are not yotza the mitzvah. They still have to light in their own home. The question arises about shehechiyanu, because the first night you make 3 blessings in shul as well. So the person who makes that blessing and makes the shehechiyanu, are they able to make that shehechiyanu at home? So the other 2 blessings you make again because you didn't do the mitzvah. But shehechiyanu is done just for the first time. So at the end of the day, I lit candles already. So therefore, halacha is that you could make another shehechiyanu, especially if there are other people in your home. So for them, who they did not do the mitzvah yet, so for sure you can make shehechiyanu for them. Some people say you can ask someone else to make the shehechiyanu. So that is in regards to the first night. Vice versa, if you first light it at home, you make the shehechiyanu, then you come to shul. So again, also, sure, there's other people there. You are allowed to make the shehechiyanu over there. Our custom is that whenever there are people in shul, like even during the day, we have the menorah lit. Don't make a bracha, but just to have the menorah lit. And of course, we know that our custom is we try to publicize the miracle as much as possible. We never really enforce this. That should be public menorah lighting in malls, and shopping centers, and in city squares, wherever possible. We should publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. On Erev Shabbos, let's speak a few minutes about lighting candles on Friday. So like I mentioned already, light candles obviously before Shabbos, before Shkia, and our custom is that we also light the candles before the women light the Shabbos candles. Once we light, first of all, we have to make sure that we fill up the candles enough that it should last for 50 minutes or 30 minutes after Seis. Generally, the earliest time to light candles is Shkia, right? Bid di Eved, which means if you, for whatever reason, you're not able to light after Shkia during the week, you are allowed to light from what's called Plag HaMincha. Plag HaMincha is roughly hour and 15 or yeah, about an hour, not 40. We'll check it up exactly. A certain time period before Shkia. That's like Bidi Eved. If you're not able to do earlier, well, an hour. Roughly an hour before, I think it depends on the city where we are, it's about an hour in New Orleans, about an hour before sunset. So if sunset is about 5, it's talking about roughly 4 o'clock is when you're allowed, the earliest time you're allowed to light menorah if you are able to light it after Shkia. The real Bidi. However, Friday, that's obviously the time when you do it. You can't light that during Shabbos. That's when you light the candles earlier, but not light it earlier than that. So it's not that much earlier. So it's not like, yeah, we're in the shoulder early, I'll light at 3:30. It's too early to light. You only can light after Plag HaMincha, which is about 4 o'clock, not before that. We have to be careful and realize that when we spoke about the laws of buses, right? The base. Remember the laws in which we put something on something purposefully, deliberately, that it should be there on Shabbos, that tray or that table becomes muktzah, like the candle itself. So too, the menorah tray or the chair becomes a buses, and it's muktzah, you can't move it. So you put it somewhere and you light it Friday night, but then you're planning on moving it during Shabbos, the kids are playing, it's in the way, I need the space for the meal, you can't move it, it's muktzah. So what do? If you remember, one of the things we do is we put something of equal value, equal specialty on the tray. So you can put something of a mitzvah. You put a siddur, you put a chumash, something of a mitzvah on that table or the chair that the menorah is on. Then once the candles blow out, not while it's lit, once the candles blow out, now you're allowed to move the entire tray or the entire table to somewhere else. Okay. During the 8 days of Hanukkah, we say Al Hanisim in our Shemona Esrei 3 times a day. In addition to when we bench the Berachas Hamazon, we also say the Al Hanisim. If we forget to, and we already said Hashem's name, we do not we do not repeat the davening to go back and say Al Nisim. And you look in the bencher, if you forget it, say the Al Nisim while we bench. Towards the end of it, there's a place to kind of the section where you kind of go back and redo it. Okay. During Hanukkah, we don't say any Tachanun. Like any holiday, we don't say Tachanun during Hanukkah. We read the every day of Hanukkah. We read the Torah and Shul. We'll skip that because that's kind of Shul.
Every day in Hanukkah is sort of
Yeah, every day.
for Mincha.
Shachris, every morning.
Good morning.
Every morning there's the Torah reading. In fact, the Rosh Chodesh is also on Hanukkah, right? This year it will be Shabbos and Sunday. So Sunday morning we take out two Torahs. We take out one Torah for Rosh Chodesh and one Torah for
This is
Hanukkah.
the first time to be here.
So I'm not sure if there's a minyan here on Hanukkah, but uptown there's a minyan every morning on Hanukkah. I mean, it gets a little challenging with school because it's like either you do it really early or you kind of do it a little late, and people are working. It's fine. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear. If there's people interested, we always make a minyan. But if sometimes it's during vacation time, so maybe a little easier with the timing. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to get shachris. But if you want to go uptown, they'll have the regular shachris, and they'll have every morning a minyan. Okay, some of the customs of Hanukkah is that we tell over the story of Hanukkah to our children. We make what's called a latke oven. We have a little Hanukkah party with the family. We have latkes. We have some food fried in oil to remember the miracle of the oil. Some have a custom to eat dairy on Hanukkah to remember the story of Yehudis, where she gave dairy, she gave cheese to the general, and through that the miracle came about. So that's why some have a custom to have a dairy meal as well. I believe here at Chabad, the big Wednesday night Hanukkah party was going to be a dairy meal, but I'm not sure if that's the reason, but definitely there's a custom of having dairy on Hanukkah. There is this also custom of giving Hanukkah gelt. Familiar with that? My children already asked me, how much money are you giving me for Hanukkah? So the idea is to add in joy, to add in simcha for our children. We give money to our children. Yes, children should be educated to give tzedakah from their money, but the idea over here is that in addition to whatever they get tzedakah, they should also have some for themselves. We don't want to pressure them and make them feel guilty that they give it all to tzedakah. It's nice that they should give whatever it is, a certain percentage of tzedakah, but the idea is they should have simcha. They should be happy. They got some money, and they could use it for what they want. There are those who give Hanukkah gifts, like a gift. The origin of a Hanukkah gift. So on the one hand, we have the idea of Hanukkah gelt, which is a Jewish custom that to add in joy. The contemporary idea in I would say, the more secular Jewish circles, that they give Hanukkah gifts is really a knock, kind of to balance, like for kids, to compensate for kids who are in secular surrounding where they're seeing all their friends getting gifts this time of year, so they kind of feel left out. Oh, so we have Hanukkah gifts. Maybe it's a good reason, maybe it's a bad reason. It's not the point. The point is that Hanukkah gifts per se is not a Jewish custom. The custom is to give gelt, Hanukkah gelt to our children, and of course we can give gifts as well. There's no problem with giving gifts, but the idea that Hanukkah, the time to give gifts, is really sourced a little bit, I think, it's a kind of taking off from other holidays during this season. So our custom is we give Hanukkah gelt, and of course we can give gifts as well. Another custom, children play with the dreidel. We know the story with the dreidel, where officially when they were hiding in the caves and the Hellenist soldiers came to look out for them, studying Torah, they would take out the dreidel, they spin the top, and they would spin it, and the letters Nun Gimel Hein Shin stand for Nes Gadol Hayasham. It was a great miracle that happened there in Israel.
Are the letters different for
in Israel? It's Nun Gimel Hey Pei, which means Nes Gadol Haya Po. Over here, a great miracle happened here. It is a custom to add in tzedakah, give additional tzedakah on Hanukkah, because this is a good time to cleanse a person's soul through giving tzedakah. We're going to skip the rest over here. Okay, so that is pretty much covers most of the idea of Hanukkah. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about, but that's the general overview on halachas of Hanukkah. Any questions? I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's that. Okay.